So, hello, my colleagues, and I hope everyone is off to a good start in our first day of class yesterday. I want to pick up here on the conduct of monetary policy. Because basically money affects many economic variables, okay? And so we got to understand what the term monetary policy is. And monetary policy is conduct of the Federal Reserve. So this is the management of the money supply and interest rates, which the Federal Reserve does, otherwise known as the central bank. Okay, so that's kind of synonymous. The United States central bank is the Federal Reserve System. So the central banking authority responsible for monetary policy in the United States is the central bank, and it's sometimes just called the Fed for short. And they go into deeper detail in chapters 16 and 19. That's how we'll study how central banks can affect money, the quantity of money, and the interest on the money that we speak of, and the interest in general. Okay, now fiscal policy is somewhat different. Fiscal policy is involves decisions about government spending and taxation. So don't get the two confused. And typically. Well, they mentioned budget surplus here, but we haven't had a budget surplus in several years, so you should all be aware of that, right? We've had a budget deficit, and so here's the government budget surplus or deficit. The blue is the surplus, which hasn't happened, and you can clearly see how deficit is growing. And now with the this is from 2016, so you can imagine with the coronavirus spending and all the funding, that deficit is way down here now. All right. And so they're giving you some early numbers up to 216, which is nothing compared to what we have now. Anyway, but deficits create problems. Deficits create inflation, right? And higher interest rates. So we got to be a little careful with that. All right. All right. So we move on to international finance. And international finance involves the rest of the world, right? And a lot of banks are global, right, multinational today, right? J.P. Morgan and Citigroup and UBS, everything is pretty much globalized. So the foreign exchange market is simply the buying and selling of currencies, exchange rates, and currencies around the world, right? Exchange rates are determined, and you can clearly see the exchange rate here in Figure 8 for the US dollar. It fluctuates from 73 to 2017. Here's the exchange rate of the dollar, right? You can see it's kind of weakening here. So this is kind of measured in terms of a basket of major foreign currencies, right? So this fluctuation in this market has have been substantial. The dollar's value rose slightly until 1976, and then reached a low point in 78 to 80. It kind of weakened here, right? From 80 to 85, the dollar appreciated dramatically, and then declined again over here, right? And then reached another low in 95. So it fluctuates up and down, like all other world economies do, okay? Have these fluctuations in the exchange rate meant to the American public and businesses? Okay, so exchange rate changes affect import and exports, as you probably are aware. So that affects American consumers, and you can see right here because it reflects the cost of imports, right? So when the euro was worth around 85 cents, 100 euros of European goods cost $85 if you just do the simple math. Okay, When the dollar subsequently weakened, raising the cost of €1 to $1.50, the same €100 of wine now cost 150. So you can see how this would affect the consumer, right, of foreign goods. Okay, and why a lot of people say, "Well, I'll just buy American." I'll just buy American. All right, so thus a weaker dollar leads to more expensive foreign goods, and this is an important concept, right? Abroad, more expensive and raises the cost of indulging for foreign imported delicacies, right? So we'll highlight that. When the value of the dollar drops, Americans decrease their purchases of foreign goods and basically buy domestically, kind of what we said. And vice versa, when a strong dollar means that the U.S. goods exported abroad will cost more in foreign countries, and hence foreigners will buy fewer of them. Okay, so it affects exports, right? So now we got the problem with a strong dollar with exports. So let's highlight that here. So this is exports. A strong dollar benefited American consumers by making foreign goods cheaper, but hurt American businesses and eliminated some jobs by cutting domestic and foreign sales of the business's products. So the decline in the value of the dollar had the opposite effect. It made foreign goods more expensive, but made American business more competitive. So fluctuations definitely have major consequences. So chapter 20 will go into detail. If you want to read ahead, feel free on the how exchange rates work and foreign exchange. It's a 24-hour basically exchange program that never goes to sleep. It goes around 24 hours a day. All right, so there's the international financial system, which is going to be covered in chapter 21. I don't think we might get to that. All right, and there's a lot here and you could read this on your own about your career in money and banking. So there's a lot of good verbiage here, and how we will study money, banking, and financial markets. So this textbook is going to be important, and this is an important statement. It stresses the economic way of thinking by developing a unifying framework in which you will study money, banking, and financial markets. This framework uses a few basic concepts to organize your thinking. Okay, and these are the concepts, right? So you should, make sure you got these concepts in your head. All right, so. And this whole framework, again, they say it'll keep you from becoming obsolete and make the material more interesting. He's a good author, Michigan. All right, so that's pretty much it. And again, there's a lot of stuff on the web here, which is nice. He goes through this, so you may want to go up on the web and look at St. Louis Fed and here the St. Louis Fed and I think my lab has a lot of real-time economic data there. I don't know if he still does, but you can see, right? And there's a lot of real-time data analysis examples at the end of almost every chapter, as he says. All right, so that's pretty much it for chapter 1 here, and we'll move on from here. All right, everybody, have a good day.